localized cells which are present in between these follicular cells, because they are present around the follicular cells, they are also called as the parafollicular cells, or also referred to as the C cells. So these are what we call it as the parafollicular C cells. These are your parafollicular C cells. These are your parafollicular C cells. The alphabet C is used to tell you that it is responsible for calcitonin secretion. It is responsible for calcitonin secretion. Now, if you see very carefully, I've used a color code which is going to be absolutely important in my lectures because I tend to keep it more clear visually. So when you go back to our development, you can see the epithelium is shown in green color. And when you come back here, you see the follicles are also in the same green color. When you go back here, the lateral analgae are orange in color. And when you come back, you see the parafollicular C cells are orange in color. So I can say the follicles of the thyroid gland, they are derived from the epithelial lining of the thyroglossal duct. They are derived from the epithelial surface of the thyroglossal duct, whereas the parafollicular C cells, they are derived from the lateral analgae. Right? Now, when you look at the follicles, I have two different orientations of follicles based upon their epithelial coverage. Now, when you look at the follicles, let's say this is the orientation of the follicles. And when you look at the follicular cell, you can have two orientation of follicular cells. One which are going to be present in this particular manner. Another one you will notice if they are going to be present in this particular manner. Right? So, there are two different orientations which are present. And these are the two different types of cells which are present throughout the follicular cells to understand which of the following one is active or dormant. Right? Now, if you look at this, I would say this is lined by the cuboidal epithelial cells and this is lined by the columnar epithelial cells. Now, remember the carry-home message. If it is lined by cuboidal, these are your active follicles. If they're lined by columnar, these are considered to be your dormant follicles. These are considered to be as your dormant follicles, right? So this is the basic orientation of the thyroid gland that you have to keep before we move any further. Now, another very important question is, when you look at the thyroid gland, you notice the thyroid gland is present between C5 to T1 in the region of your neck. Why is it not falling down? How is it able to stay down there? Why is it sticking there across it? Who is holding it? All these questions we are going to answer with the orientation. I would like to call it as the thyroid attachments. So I'll be talking about the thyroid attachment. So what do you exactly mean by thyroid attachment? Let's understand this, right? So once I say that we are going to talk about thyroid attachments, so let's get oriented to the thyroid attachments, right? So in the thyroid attachment, let's understand why is or how is the gland is being able to hold down across here. For that, I would like to give you a cross section. Let's say this is the orientation of the patient. And this is the orientation of the neck that is present. And we'll keep it across here, right? Now, for the sake of understanding, I would say this happens to be the hyoid bone. This happens to be the thyroid cartilage. This happens to be the cricoid cartilage. From here onwards, you will see the trachea is being positioned, right? This is the basic orientation that we are going to talk about. Behind this, you have the esophagus. No need to tell you across it. Now, in between this, you have the hyothyroid membrane, the thyrocricoid membrane. This is holding in toto per se. Now, when you say the thyroid gland, to make us understand, I'm just going to use a different color. Let's say this is the orientation of the thyroid gland, right? So my question is, how is the thyroid gland able to hold down its position? And the answer to that is because of the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. You take this as a representation of the orbit. This is the zygomatic arch, right? So there is a fascia that starts from the occiput. We call it as the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. it runs behind the ear, it becomes anterior, it inserts onto the inferior surface of the zygomatic arch, covers the angle of the mandible, and then it goes down, and as it goes down, it encircles. As it goes down, it encircles the thyroid gland. So it's basically basketing the thyroid gland, right? And then you will notice that this is going to cover not only the thyroid gland, it will also cover two other glands, or the two other important glands in its way. No points for guessing what are the two glands that it is going to cover. Obviously, one that is going to be present here that we'll discuss in detail, that is your parotid gland. One more is your submandibular gland, right? So this investing layer of the deep cervical fascia, you have to understand it this way. Imagine my hands are the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. It starts from the occiput, it comes anteriorly, and then it encases the thyroid gland. So from the either side it comes and it encases, and as it encases, especially on the posterior inferior surface. Now, just for the sake of understanding, the green structure, let's say it's the pretracheal fascia. Now this investing layer of deep cervical fascia, as it encases the thyroid gland, it forms the pseudocapsule, but more importantly, on the posterior inferior surface, it forms a tuft of band, and that tuft of band is going to attach with the pretracheal fascia. Right? Now let's get oriented to what we are talking about. This is the investing layer of the cervical fascia. We call it as the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. This is the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. It is the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. Just for the orientation, this happens to be your parotid gland. This happens to be your submandibular gland. This happens to be your submandibular gland. Right? Now you notice this has to be your pretracheal fascia. This is your pretracheal fascia. And as you can see, there's a tuft of band which is going to be present on the posterior inferior surface, attaching to the pretracheal fascia. And this is what we call it as the Berry's ligament. This is what we call it as the Berry's ligament, right? Now, obviously, the one that is encasing on the outer side of the thyroid gland,